This was recorded for a Facebook Live on December 2nd, 2020, where I'm interviewing Kate with Devon Dotting, found at devondotting.com. She loves working with her art community. Her family works together making their own molds and selling them on their website. In this video, she will be walking us through the process of making a tea light holder. My favorite part is we will be learning how to get rid of those pesky air bubbles. Materials used depends on where you live. I personally love using Ultra Cal 30, shown in these heart stones. Herculite 2 is popular in the UK, similar to the Ultra Cal, which is a gypsum product. Many people use plaster at Paris with different grades or densities, so drying times will depend on that. Other people use quick drying concrete or even resin. There are a lot of craft supplies and other tools for dotting on their website as well. These are just a few of their molds that I have.
Hi, welcome to Devon Dotting. This evening, because we are evening here in the UK, 8 o'clock, I'm in my very cold workshop, but I'm okay. And I'm going to make you tea lights and lids. You've all had or are receiving 85 pot lids or 65 pot lids, and they all have this rim and this section of a mould under here, and it's the same with the tea light. It's called an undercut. So this is an undercut, and this is where all of your air will get trapped, because as the bubbles rise, they've got nowhere to escape. So I'm going to show you how to tackle that. Obviously, you're always going to get bubbles one way or another, but if we can eliminate them and get the best out of our moulds and use certain types of plaster castings, it'll be good. One thing I will always say when you are making tea lights is the most important tool ever is a pot of water and a little brush. Okay, I'll show you why. I will never make anything that's got an undercut or a tea light void without one. Okay, so we're going to start. Today I'm using Herculite 2, which is a UK high density casting plaster. We have different plasters to you in the UK, but I think our Herculite is very similar to your Ultra Cal. Both of them are gypsum products, both the Ultra Cal and the Herculite. Above the Herculite, you've got Crystal Color, which is another casting plaster that I love. It's slightly heavier, requires less water, so you've got higher density and it's heavier. I do use it a lot on certain products for bowls, especially things that are usable, so bowls, tea lights. I will use Crystal Color, and above that again is another density plaster called Alpha K, and that would be handy for things like figurines, anything with detail that could snap or break. It's good for lids, especially if they've got little pointy nibs, because it doesn't break. But I'm going to go ahead and mix up some plaster. I'm going to just tilt the camera so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to move my cup of tea. You'll be able to see what I'm doing. I'm just going to place you down there. Okay. I've got another major important thing when making anything is a silicone spatula. Okay. So when you, these are ones I poured earlier. It's probably not a good light. When you make plaster casting and then you've got the bubbles have risen and you've got all that bubbly texture on the bottom, just as it's going off, if you wipe it with the silicone spatula, it will make it really smooth. So you don't need to sand the bottoms. The base of your casting will be smooth and you're ready to paint. No sanding required. So a silicone spatula. Okay, so we've got plaster. So we've got 1 kilo plaster to 500 ml of water. There's no easy way of mixing it. You literally just pour it in. I normally let it sit for a couple of seconds and you can watch the bubbles just disperse as it's going in, and fold it in. If you fold, you'll reduce the amount of air entering the mixture. It's like baking. I don't ever bake, I can't stand it, but it's like baking. I definitely prefer to make plaster than cakes. And you're just folding it in. We've probably got about 15 minutes work time with Herculite. I don't know what Ultracal is, but it sets really quickly and we can demold in about 30 to 40 minutes, which is good, even in our grey, gloomy climate. And just mix until you've pushed, so I'm sort of pushing my water into my plaster rather than mixing, so I'm sort of squidging it to the bottom of my mixing bowl. Okay, right there. And if you've got lumps and bumps, it's fine, it will all pour the same. I'm going to pour a tea light. I'll pour 2 tea lights, but I'm going to pour a tea light without a undercut, which is the section around the vent, and I'm going to do some lids. And the reason I'm going to do some lids is because I'm going to show you how to stop you getting the air bubbles around your lip of your lid. So pour straight in first to the top. And your lids, pour slowly into the base. You must fill the little knobbly bit up. And then the trick with the brush, I will show you in a second. You'll never live without a brush again. Just use up some of this. I popped. You see the consistency of your plaster, for it to pour nicely and enter all the nooks and crannies of your mould, should resemble a batter mix. Okay. So brush, wet the brush, put the brush in the plaster, brush around your tea light void. I see the bubbles coming to the top, and brush around your undercut on all of them, exactly the same. You won't damage the mould, round, and then into your lid, and then around the lip on all of them. Oh, all right, mess there. Around the lip. Always wash the brush straight away, and then you are just tapping, because any bubbles or air that have stuck to the void of your tea light holder, the place you put the candle, will have been dislodged by the brush, so there won't be any air on them now. You'll notice the difference between my moulds and other moulds. My moulds are what are called block moulds. They don't have structures, they don't have extra bits of silicone to hold them into a particular shape. They are a block of silicone with a shape, so they are called block moulds. But it's also good because it gives you the ability to pick your moulds up, move them around, move them out of the way of the kids, cats. Be quite rough with your moulds because you are trying to bring all the air. Another thing as well with the bowls, you can put your brush in and around. That'll stop you getting any air pockets on any of your lips of your bowls or your pots. And then quite literally, after you've given them all a very good tap, take a silicone spatula, just wipe the tops. Get a nice clean top, no need to sand.
I have a question.
Yep.
Do you ever spray the molds with a light soapy water to decrease bubbles?
No. Leave them to dry a second. When you use your mould, every mould, whether it's mine or Lydia's or Angela's, whichever mould, after you've poured plaster, inside your mold will always be a powdery residue, which is left by whether you're using concrete, cement, ultracal, hydrocal, whatever the plaster product you are using, you will always leave a residue. So you'll always need to rinse with water. The problem is if you spray, I know there's controversy towards it working and not working, but if you spray a lot of water within your mold, when you pour your plaster in, you'll end up with what's called like a vein effect, which is the excess water that's left in the mold. I can't explain it. It's like little lines within the plaster casting. It's like veiny. That's because there's too much water within the mold. I would always recommend with every mold that you wash your mold and just give it a shake out before you start using it, because that takes away that powdery residue. But the definite is an artist brush. And you'll see the difference. So I'm just going to show you, I'm going to take out one of the tea light that I made earlier, doing exactly the same process as I've just done there. And hopefully you'll see. So this is our small tea light. If you see the minimum amount of, let's take it out, very minimum amount of bubbles on the underside. Can you see that properly in the light? That will be
Nice.
by using a brush, you're pushing the excess air, and we also brushed around this area, which means that we don't get any holes or air bubbles trapped on our tea lights. And that's the idea of the brush. So that's a nice perfect tea light ready to be painted. And then you've got the lids that I made some earlier, and I've made a few here. And by using, by using the brush to make your tea light, it eliminates any air pockets on this rim, so you don't get that broken lip. And the brush is a must. It's a definite tool to have beside you at all times when you are casting. Okay, so we need to wait for them to dry, which they will very quickly. I am going to show you one more thing that I get asked all the time. How do you demold an egg? I get asked probably at least 3 times a day. It's been referred to as giving birth, laying an egg. There's quite a simple knack to demolding. So all of our molds are designed to turn inside out. So that's the same principle for bowls, medium trinket jars, pots, and eggs. So they're all designed to turn inside out. So when we design our silicone molds, we 3D print, I'll show you, we 3D print all of our housings. So, there you go. So all of our housings, which we make our molds in, are 3D printed. So when we've got our master that we're going to make a mold out of, we have to work out what's the right thickness between the master and the edge of the mold. And there's a couple of factors to take in. So you need to work out if the mold wall is too thick, you won't be able to demold it. But if the wall is not thick enough, it won't support the structure that you're molding. So when you put plaster in, because it's heavy, your mold can sag. So we've spent quite a long time with the egg, and what we've done is we've worked out that we've found the right ratio to thickness of wall to demolding. But I am going to demold an egg for you now. I made one earlier, and it's just to show you how to turn your mold inside out. Okay, and it's not like giving birth. I'm not going to give birth live on Facebook. Okay, so I'm going to put the camera down and I'm going to show you the egg. Okay, so this is the large egg. Can you see that one? Okay, so we're going to take it away from the vent. I'm going to roll my sleeves up, mind. And it's digging your fingers in, and what you basically, you are turning the mold. Oh God, I made that look awful. It's because I'm not on my glass. That's what we're looking for. We're looking to turn the mould inside out. Once you've turned the mould inside out, the egg is just released. Okay, so that's the trick you're looking for. You're looking for that, and then once you've done it, flip your mould back in the right way. Okay, see, painless.
That was awesome. Super satisfying as my...
Watching me lay an egg.
I have another question from Barbara. Assuming hydrocal is similar to ultracal, how long do you recommend drying before painting? There's been some opinions.
Okay, so depending on climate, there are different techniques to how you dry your castings. Something like an egg, if you're in a cold climate, I would pop that in the oven for 2 hours on your lowest temperature, and then allow maybe 48 hours before you paint. If you're in a warm climate, put them out in the sun. Castings love to sunbathe. Put them on some cardboard. Corrugated cardboard will absorb water, which is brilliant. If you leave them in a warm environment, 48 to 72 hours is about the right sort of time to start painting. The best way to tell is when you pick your casting up, if it still feels cold, or if the bottom is, do you see the difference in the bottom colour? Slightly darker. The bottom is still darker, it means your casting's still wet. Or if you're still unsure, put it on a piece of paper. If your paper becomes damp, you know your casting's not quite dry. So within 10 minutes, your paper will become damp and soggy, and you'll know that you've still got water within your casting.
Okay, I do have another question. Donna wants to know, can you order the molds to be delivered to Canada? And do you know about how long that would take for delivery?
So yes, definitely to Canada. We've got a couple of delivery options to Canada. We can do economy, which is your cheapest option, and that's, so they get sent Royal Mail economy, and it's between 2 and 12 weeks, but in general it's normally about 3 weeks. It has to clear customs in Canada. Your customs is about 28 English pound before it hits customs charges. I do try and drop that a little bit, keep the prices down. Or then you've got standard international, which is between 10 and 14 days, or you've got express, which is 5 to 7 days. So there are 3 different options for Canada.
Excellent. So I noticed on your website you sell pre-made blank casted items.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's any question about that, but you do have those available too. And then also, tell me about stencils. I know you were kind of talking about that.
Yeah. So we are in the process of having only 3 designs at the moment of the simple mandala dyed patterns made. We're not actually having them made, so we'll be making the mold. What we have is a template. So everything that I do, we have what's called a master. I think I've probably referred to masters before on Facebook when I've been talking about things, and people have probably thought, what on earth is she talking about? So a master for me is an item that we've handmade. Normally it's made of wood from a really good friend who's a wood turner, or a company that we've employed to make a particular shape or size. Most of it's wood. Or Mr. Devon loves clay. So he will sit. So all the hearts that you have bought, so the medium hearts, so the large hearts, the small heart, tea light hearts, they've all been made by Mr. Devon. He's the new mold today that's been released was also made by Mr. Devon. And that then is made into what's called a master, and the master is made out of polyurethane casting resin. I will show you one in a minute. And we mold that. So what we do is we And then, so with the stencils, for instance, we're having the polyurethane master made for us, and we will mold it out of silicone, which means that it's going to be highly flexible. It will hopefully, fingers crossed, mold over all of my shapes, which means that gives you because I know how hard it is to try and get a center dot and create guidelines in a shallow bowl. I think there's only one person I know that's mastered it, and that's Erin. I don't know how she's done it. I think it's witchcraft, but she manages to find the center. I go to medieval techniques where I'm dropping water in the bowl and hoping that it'll find the center. But with the stencil, I'm hoping with it being flexible, it will lay inside the bowl, and you'll be able to draw your guidelines. So yeah, that's new, and it's coming very soon.
Awesome. That's so exciting. I have another question for you.
Yeah.
It is, let's see, do you have a dedicated U.S. distributor, or is your UK site the only way to buy products to be used in America?
Okay, so I hand make. Every single mold that gets sent from Devon Dotting is made by hand. You've already seen it, Christina, but I'll spin you around in a minute. Today's molds are sat cooking. I don't have the ability to make my molds and ship them to America for them to be distributed within America. I'd love to, but each and every mold is handmade. So the only way to buy, unfortunately, at the moment is through us. I know there are companies that send from outlets, but it's not something that we are able to do. So if I just spin you very quickly, you will get a sneak peek of today's work. So today, there are 47 molds, all sat on the table, cooking, ready to be demolded, and adds to the collection of molds to be sent. So yeah, they're all handmade. So yeah, the answer is no, basically, on that one.
Okay, I've got a lot of comments coming in, so I'm just going to go down the line. Let's see. It is so fabulous to have a UK-based supplier. Almost every video on YouTube that I see is US, Canada, or Australia-based, and it's frustrating. I always have paint envy. Okay, well, here we go. Somebody is excited about the stencils. Are all the molds in the web shop? You've got Etsy and a website, correct?
Yeah, they go on the website before they go on Etsy.
Okay, so check our website first.
The good thing about the website is I can generate discount codes because I don't have any fees, Etsy fees. So I can always do and run promotions on the website as opposed to Etsy. I do like Etsy, it's a really good platform, but for generating discount codes and promotion, I always run them on my website rather than Etsy.
Good to know. Yeah, I have a love-hate relationship with Etsy.
It's a love-hate relationship sometimes.
So Allie has a question. Do you have a recommendation for how to find the most precise center for the heart castings? The molds don't have a center dot like the round molds.
No, they do not. I was going to say, have I got one? So, probably the most simple way that I will find the center of the heart, so this is the large, is I would just find this line and take it to the bottom, and that would be my central line. And then I'd sort of find the top here to here, and then just measure and find the center. That way, that's the easiest way, is to find that central line to find in the center. I hope that helps.
I guess that's all the questions we have. So thank you so much for doing this. I actually learned quite a bit. The brush thing was probably my biggest takeaway. So I'm super excited to try that with my molds. And
always use a brush.
Yes.
You will notice the difference in everything. So like I said, whether it's mine or Angela's or Lydia's, that tea light void is a nightmare for catching air bubbles because it's two different angles. So if something's going to stick, it's going to stick there. So yeah, always use the brush.
For sure. Okay, so the website name is devondotting.com, and you can find all the fun toys there. And thank you so much for joining us. I learned so much, and I know a lot of people had questions, and they learned a lot too, and just really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for having me.